Nice and soft here, I'll stay. 2 weeks later, the Arabian desert riders returned and once again gathered in the hall. Ronnie's teenage group served mint tea as a welcome, and olive oil with flatbread had been set on the table. Kia held an iPad in her hand and explained the plan, which was translated by Jamal, the Moroccan cadet. With the permission of Ronnie, the commander, and the leader's daughter was put in charge of hall coordination and the organization of provisions, especially water and tea, with her mother as assistant. The son was put in charge of the men. Kia and Jamal were to carry the overall coordination responsibility. Of course, they weren't left entirely on their own with that, but the four of them didn't know that. During those 2 weeks, they had completed the planning and management course, and they had to be prepared at any time to solve a task using what they had learned. It was, of course, only a basic course, but they were getting good at it. Their task was to seal off an area and secure the drop from incoming bombers and postal aircraft. They were also to coordinate the reception of truckloads from Algeria, Morocco, and Germany, for which Tatras from Russia had been provided. The drivers had received 2 weeks of training in Moscow to learn to maneuver in tight spaces. Then, at an open-pit mine, they practiced loading and unloading something some Russian drivers, half drunk on vodka, demonstrated perfectly for fun. As a punishment, Ronnie ordered 5 cooks to prepare solyanka as a starter for the group. However, the cooks and drivers also had to sign a pledge to stay sober. The ambassador laughed and said, "I'll gladly join in on that punishment cooking." So the ambassador and the cooks arrived 3 days early to master the suit and learn the basic safety rules. Ronnie thought 3 days was unnecessary, but she let Kia handle the planning and said nothing. Suddenly, the air rumbled and heavy aircraft flew over the area, dropping packages from India, China, the USA, Pakistan, Brazil, Uzbekistan, Turkey, Australia, Turkmenistan, and Burkina Faso. These were the top 10 cotton-producing countries Kia had found on the website. https://praxistips.focus.de/bongwal-anbajabayat hier kommt der Meiststoff her _125251. As always, Ronnie took no political side. After all, everyone on Earth wants to live. All the planes had stickers on their bellies and wings reading Earth Project. Kia radioed air traffic control whenever Jamal requested an expansion of the drop zone. It rained cotton packages. Then the Tatras thundered in, carrying kilometers of chicken wire fencing, but there was one difference: the fence was made of reed. Japanese and German fence makers had crafted it in Germany without any wire, using only organic twine. Ronnie allowed the surprise effect, so only Kia and Jamal knew what all this was for. For lunch, there was solyanka with honey bread, and in the evening the Russian cooks and Arabian woman prepared a Moroccan soup and couscous with chicken and vegetables as the main course, along with Russian and Arabian tea. The next morning, after a Turkish honey cake with tea or milk for breakfast, the drivers and the ambassador were sent home. The cooks were invited by the women to stay the day if they wished, leading to an intense Russian-Arab culinary hospitality. Ronnie said only this to Kia and Jamal over the radio: perfect unexpected event management. Ask what needs adjusting, provision quantities, extended overnight stays, suit checks in case something got damaged, since the cooks aren't used to them. Then great, have fun, you'll manage it. I've heard only good things about you. The military set up server antennas along the river together with the Arabian nomads. Tables with laptops were now placed on one side of the hall, and the international military stood behind them, forming a wall. Through a portal came Ronnie with a girl of about 16, protected by 6 women. Ronnie checked the situation and nodded approvingly to Kia and Jamal. Then she said to her group of youths, "She will now guide you on the drones. Watch the film so you know what's planned." Naturally, the others didn't want to miss it either. In a holographic projection, crabs spread the cotton along the riverbank and laid the reed fence over it, fastening it in the sand with reed clips. Through the tide's ebb and flow, silt and algae settled on the cotton. When the silt rose above the fence height, drones scattered grass and wildflower seeds over it. Once the flowers and grass grew, silhouettes hung insect boxes in the trees. The silhouettes were my group. That's enough for the next step for now. Commander, how have my 4 students performed so far? Ronnie asked. The commander replied with an honorary salute. Good. If the rest continues this way, the course will be considered complete for you 2, and the next 2 will begin. Ronnie asked the nomad leader something, and he nodded. Then she went to the training officer. Jamal has tomorrow off. He'll ride with the leader in the jeep to look at the river together with the other 3, of course. The officer nodded in approval. The crabs ran over the cotton, cutting it and laying it in flat pads along a 5-meter wide strip by the river. Scorpion-shaped drones carried the fence hooked on their stinger tails. This last drone type was classified by the nomads and the military securing the strip as "Please Never Again." That evening, Mike and others decided via chat that no drone designs resembling actual dangerous animals would be deployed in areas where such creatures exist. Kia and Jamal, who hadn't chosen that design, still received this as part of the project evaluation, along with the others in Ronnie's group. Ronnie then brought the Italian girl and Jamal into a small conference room. I've noticed you didn't practice with the trousers I gave you. There's a reason for that exercise. She had one of the women who had come with her enter the room. The woman held a small cheerleading baton. The 3 of them had to stand on chairs and stay there. Try to take the baton from her. She won't use too much force, so it won't be impossible, but as a warning, she's very skilled. Anyone who curses, swears, or the like will be punished, Ronnie instructed. After the 2 of them were thoroughly worked up, the girl came in and said, I think my suit is stuck, I can't get it off. It was obvious that the 2 had to forcefully flip an internal switch to go help her. Ronnie stayed calm, nodded, thanked her, and let her leave. Well, I think you now understand that this was a provoked situation. And respect to you, you managed to keep your composure. Your teams earn 10 points. But you are supposed to, or rather, you want to take on project responsibility. No, you are not emotionless machines, and you shouldn't become that either. But you must be able to manage yourselves just the same. Jamal and Kia, adults followed you today, and it went well, but believe me, they knew you and were aware of what was going on. It won't always be this easy, and believe me, it will stay that way for a few more years. Many adults don't simply follow so-called young upstarts. Do you remember when I put the botanist under a curfew? Both of them nodded. Well, I think in the first few minutes he would probably have liked to eat me raw and without dressing. But you're learning all of this here, and after the level 3 course, you will be the ones to tell the botanist what to do. Otherwise, he could possibly die due to incompetence, and it would be your responsibility. You are 12 in the group. After this project, you might be recruited by NASA, ESA, or similar organizations, or environmental groups might take you in, or governments to make areas habitable again. You will not receive any chemical or biological formulas. You will be the ones guiding and advising the botanists, geologists, sociologists, and politicians. You will plan, manage, and implement their projects for settlement, restoration, and remediation with the latest knowledge available. In the Bible, it says that God rested on the 7th day. Jesus revealed to you that you can still ask Him for help at that time. Now, miracles come from God and sometimes from those blessed by Him. And you are here because He will not abandon you, even on the seventh day well, except for the simple things you absolutely want to do yourselves. Jamal, what information did I give you for the last 2 days? Ronnie asked. That a 5-meter wide strip, 3 centimeters thick, should be laid on both sides of the river and secured to the ground with a fence made of purely organic material so fertile soil can accumulate there. And where you ordered the fence from, he replied. Correct. As the client, I placed the orders, but Kia researched the cotton-producing countries and established the initial contact. Kia couldn't place the order herself because, due to her age, she didn't have such a high purchasing authorization. When they didn't believe she was allowed to handle such a large sum of money. Tactically speaking, for example, a small gardening startup might ask you to set up their new nursery so they can have it afterwards. Not to run it, that comes in the next level, but to assemble, deliver, and oversee the setup according to their target description and plant specifications. Yes, I know a little more than you because I've truly learned some of this, but some knowledge also comes through help and spiritual intuition. For example, the cotton, it can be done without, but it would take years longer. So I asked and got the answer, cotton carpet with chicken wire. But I didn't want metal wire as residue, so I got the answer as you've now done it. The idea came from the Dungeon Siege movie and the PC game Children of the Nile. I'm still only a small beginning. I hope you'll carry it forward and heal the face of the earth and more, Ronnie explained. She added after a brief pause, and believe me, out of anger and impatience, I almost killed my own soul. So better rip the annoying training pants. By my people, we can't give them to all kids anymore anyway. Some take them just for fun, to laugh when someone plops down while trying them on. It feels like that's become the real goal for them instead of successfully putting them on. The little one, if I can even call her that anymore, who led the drone group today, is one of the few who managed it. But she's also the crafting idol of the entire temple. Where is Zamana anyway? She didn't come along, the training officer asked. Your tech girl said she was sewn back together from individual body parts yesterday. Ronnie made a displeased face, then smiled a little, and finally answered seriously. She actually cut her arm open during sword and staff training and needs to heal. Of course, she was treated immediately, but she has to rest. Have you already decided whether you'll send her to the Foreign Legion or to Israel? The officer asked. Ronnie thought for a moment. We've decided to keep Zamana's training components for ourselves. You don't have 100% authorization. If a so-called first kid is here, no one should know except for a handful of responsible people what they might face if that person gets some very, very bad ideas. You also won't get her back completely when she's here. She'll do the regular exercises, but her own training field is no longer your responsibility. All right, I'll follow that, but she did get a letter from her parents, the officer replied. Ronnie nodded. The Level 1 course book mentioned in this podcast episode. It is a real, foundational planning and management course book. Book title: Planning and Basic Management Course, Creating a Vegetable Garden and a Wooden Garden Pavilion. Author: Raginmund. Language: English. Book ISBN 978-3-6951-9070-6. E-book ISBN 978-3-6951-3886-9. Coming out at September 2025. This combined edition contains both books: Creating a Fruit and Vegetable Garden and Wooden Garden Pavilion. Planning and Management: A Fruit and Vegetable Garden for Personal Use. This plan follows the principles of general project management as applied on various levels, including in business contexts. It is therefore also intended to help you acquire project management skills. It is not designed exclusively for complete self-sufficiency but can highlight aspects that might otherwise be overlooked when planning such a garden. Planning and basic management, coordination. Using the example of a wooden garden pavilion. Introduction. This book is not simply a construction plan for a garden pavilion. For that, I recommend my separate work Wooden Garden Constructions Volume 2, see book list at the end. Instead, this book guides you through the project planning and coordination of a practical undertaking. Along the way, you will gain skills valuable in both professional project management and private life. You will learn how to strategically plan a project, coordinate resources such as materials, space, and helpers, use modern digital tools and artificial intelligence for support. If you enjoyed the podcast, please click the like button. If you want to know what happens next, click follow or subscribe. This podcast will end where it began, on Mars. Book link in the episode description.